Good afternoon. This webinar offers closed captioning. To enable closed captioning, click on the live transcript button on the bottom of your screen and choose your preferred method. Welcome to the Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection webinar. Please note any website or email that I mentioned will be posted in the chat. For those of you that are seeking business license assistance, you can visit us here at City Hall or call 312-74-GO-BIZ. Also, business license can be applied for or renewed online at chicagobusinessdirect.org. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you can get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. To learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. This webinar is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. We would like to encourage all attendees to ask questions. Please use the chat box to send your questions. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. Today's webinar is our monthly Empower Hour with BACP Commissioner Ken Meyer and our guest Marco Rodriguez. At this time, I will now turn this webinar over to Commissioner Meyer for us to begin.
Thank you, Stella, and good afternoon. Thank you, Stella. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Stella. Good afternoon, Marco, and thanks for joining us. Let's start with your own story. Tell us about yourself and your upbringing to your current role.
Sure, Commissioner Meyer. Glad to be here and glad to be here for Hispanic Heritage Month for the BACP. My own story really started with being born into Dulcelandia. So obviously Dulcelandia is a family-owned business, something that my parents started and something that I got involved in 2016, but I've always been around it my whole life. A little bit desensitized to candy, but still love it anyway today.
Okay, help me if I mispronounce the name of the store, but I understand that Dulcelandia.
Correct, yes, Dulcelandia.
That's great. Was started by your parents. But first, I must ask, what is the meaning behind Dulcelandia?
Well, Dulcelandia has no direct translation in Spanish. The rough translation is Candyland. And so the meaning behind it is that my parents wanted to bring back some sort of nostalgia and some sort of candy element once the North America Free Trade Agreement was agreed upon between the United States and Mexico. So they looked at back in their upbringing in Mexico, what is the one thing that they look forward to when they were children? And that was candy. You know, when they were young, they would work all day for 25 pesos, which is equivalent to basically $1.50 nowadays, to go and be able to buy, you know, some food and a little bit of candy and get that little candy bar that they would work. And they remember how excited they'd be able to be once they were able to get that money and buy it. So as a part of nostalgia, along with having the piñatas for the celebration and the culture and the various other party favors and artisanal goods that we have, it really is bringing back kind of our nostalgia back in the form of sweetness in our candy.
And did they start the store here in Chicago?
Absolutely. So our first store was on 5121 South Kedzie. It was opened on October 31st, 1995. So Halloween of 95. It was a 700 square foot store. They had it packed to the gills, and within 6 hours of opening, they sold out everything in the store. So once they found out after the first day, like, hey, this may be something, and then we just grew from there.
That's great. I want to talk to you first about Hispanic Heritage Month, but then I want to go back. Let's talk then after that about Halloween, Thanksgiving, sure, and Christmas, since we're getting into the fall, winter, holiday season. But anyways, for our viewers, September 15th to October 15th is Hispanic Heritage Month. And I'm just kind of curious as to how you, and really your business, celebrates this important month, particularly for your business.
Well, for us, it's obviously the Mexican Independence Day. That's what it is in Hispanic Heritage Month. That's a big celebration at the beginning of the month. That's where people go in and they bring their Mexican flags. They celebrate on the corridor with the Little Village Chamber of Commerce, the Mexican Independence Day Parade. Every year we participate with our float and we give away candy. People decorate their homes, their vehicles, their everything they want to show their Mexican pride. And we were in the news last weekend for some not so great things of a lot of people going and celebrating downtown and causing a little bit of a traffic jam, but nothing too serious. And then after that, once we finish the month of September, we're still in Hispanic Heritage Month, and now we transition to what is Dia de los Muertos. So Day of the Dead, which is Halloween. It's kind of a 2-in-1 month for us. The beginning of October is getting ready for Halloween, getting ready for Day of the Dead, and that celebration of honoring the past loved ones in your life by having an altar and having some remembrance of them in their home during this time period.
And in terms of the candy business, is there like a difference? Like, is the store selling one type of candy, one kind of product in preparation for Halloween, and then switching to something else that people like to bring home when they're honoring, the families and the deceased?
So it's two different distinct products. So for Halloween, a lot of people just buy candy to give away, go to parties and have celebrations, children's parties and things like that. For Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, it's sugar skulls, which are basically handmade skulls made out of sugar, as they're called. They're decorated, and they signify a loved one in your life that you put in front of a picture of them in your altar. They're the paper mache Catrinas, what we call them, which are models of paper mache women in dresses with the skeletal face and everything that are handmade as well to represent loved ones. It's different decorations and candles and things like that for Day of the Dead versus Halloween. It's basically candy solely. Instead of a remembrance, it's mainly just a celebration.
Very interesting. And then is there candy product for the U.S. holiday Thanksgiving, or certainly as you get ready for, Christmas, New Year's?
So we do have some Thanksgiving products, and we make it as a display. There's a very famous candy that we have, which is called pollo asado, which is roasted chicken. And that's a direct translation. Which funny story about that, when my father first imported that candy, unfortunately the direct translation is roasted chicken. So when he was on the border dealing with FDA agents would be questioning him and saying, you don't have a license to import chicken. You don't have a license to import cooked food. You don't have a license to import poultry. And he was explaining to them, it is not actually roasted chicken. It is a lollipop that is in the shape of a chicken that's called roasted chicken. So that's kind of our big hit for Thanksgiving, and we do that. And then Christmas is another huge holiday for us. So in the Mexican culture, Christmas is also known as posadas, which is the celebration. That starts from December 10th to January 5th. And that's a celebration from, La Virgen Guadalupe, el Día de la Virgen Guadalupe, which is the day of the Virgin of Guadalupe. It's the Tres Reyes, which are the three kings. Those are big in Mexican culture. It's the selling down of the baby Jesus. It's different things. And so that starts for us December 10th. And people buy candy, they buy snacks, they buy nativity scenes, they buy decorations, all for their home every year to kind of honor that remembrance.
And is it quiet in January before Valentine's Day, or does it just keep going?
In January, we do take a bit of a dip. It's actually our slowest month out of the year because everyone has bought Christmas gifts, bought posada gifts, has gone to get Halloween candy. So everyone needs to take a little break in January. And in February, we have that little boost of people getting the gifts for their loved partners and everything else as well.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. I think particularly for your concept, and certainly for candy, it's kind of unique that you can kind of map out the 12 months or 11 months, 10 months, where you can kind of have a celebration that hopefully will involve candy.
Yeah, we try to tie it in every way we can, and all of our stores are decorated for the season. So that's a big part of our staff is we give our staff the creativity to come up with the decorations and decorate the stores to be attractive for Thanksgiving, for Valentine's, for Halloween, for Christmas, for Independence Day, for everything you got.
That's awesome. That's great. And so you're able to bring together the two cultures, both of our Mexican and our American cultures, through candy. Why was this important to you and your parents, your family, to bring these two cultures together? And how do you think they chose through confectionery?
Well, I think it's important because as generations grow on, I'm obviously second generation. I'm a millennial. I know everything from mazapan, which is a very popular Mexican candy, and pulparindo, to Hershey's and Snickers. So for us, it's kind of blending the cultures in, and also the American culture here is adopting some of our things. So I think 20 years ago, you wouldn't see as many piñatas as you would now outside of Hispanic homes. Now piñatas are prevalent in a lot of parties. Almost every birthday party you go to has a piñata. They have a candy. And so it's a blending of culture that happened by itself and also that we wanted to support in our stores. So now all of our stores also carry not only Mexican candy, but also American candy, the full line of American candy. We carry everything from, like I said, Hershey and Snickers to the little root beer barrels that people remember, and to the malt balls and things like that. We carry to kind of blend those two cultures together.
Yeah, I love root beer. Yeah, they're hard to find. Probably.
There you go. See, now you know where to find them.
Yeah, thank you. Prior to joining the company, things were going well. Your family was operating 9 retail chains and 2 warehouses. When you stepped in as director of operations, tell us a little bit about the downsizing, why you decided to downsize a little bit, and how were you able then to get the company to its current status? And tell us what's the right size for your family business?
Yeah, so what happened was in 2008, obviously the financial crisis hit us very hard, and we had to contract and reduce our store count. So at one point we had up to 9 retail stores, and we had 2 warehouse locations. We had to downsize to only 3 retail stores and 1 warehouse, and that's where I came in 2016. And I think it was just bringing in some new blood, some new ideas, some new bending of cultures. I think people were a little bit bored of our concept, and the stores were a bit stagnant. So, changing them up, changing the look of them, and making sure that we focus on the more cultural aspect of it. So all of our stores now have very large murals. So when you walk into our stores, they're huge murals that depict our culture, the Mexican culture, the American culture, and also candy all together. And we've done that through different ideas. We developed a concept for a piñata explosion wall, which is essentially a giant mural in our flagship store, and all of our stores, but our flagship store is the biggest. That is a 16-foot mural that would emulate, if you were inside of a piñata, how it would look if all the candy was exploding out as if it was just broken. And so you're on the mural and it looks like these giant pieces of candy are coming out to you. So that's kind of the concept of just updating the stores and then streamlining the product line. So really, I'd love to carry every single product that Mexico has to offer. I'd love to carry everything from the most obscure candy in the world, but we really couldn't do that. So we had to hit the top 20 and then just kind of focus on building up that and our piñatas and going from there, streamlining the process a bit more, reducing our expenses, and really just looking at the bottom line and seeing, what we can do and what we can push to get our margins up.
How does the family go about finding the mural artist? You guys.
So we did. So in two murals in our stores were done by a local artist called Samuel Flores. He's an artist out of Pilsen. Unfortunately, passed away a few years ago. He did these murals for us back in 1999, I believe, and we had them in our office. So we had them in our office, we had them in our homes, and they would just depict kind of, the candy culture and the Mayan culture of making the chocolate and creating it from the cocoa beans. And then they would depict, a candy land, like an actual land of candy with children and breaking a piñata and everything else. So at that time, I thought of, making that bigger. So we had them done by a graphic artist and made huge over all of our stores. And then our piñata explosion one was done by that same graphic artist who was able to help us kind of do that by taking the actual individual pieces of the candy, placing them in certain angles, and making sure that they came out exactly how we were looking for.
Wow, that's really neat. And I suppose it gives the customer going into the store just kind of a different kind of visual experience as they're selecting their various candies. Do you think that having the murals increases foot traffic, increases your visibility even on social media to get more foot traffic and get more people buying candy?
Yeah, so the murals were part of the fact that we wanted to increase our social media, likeness. So people come into the store and they see these beautiful murals, they see the colorful candy, they see the colorful piñatas, and they instantly want to take a picture. They instantly want to start recording. They instantly want to start sharing. So that was kind of the idea, was to push more of the social media side, people sharing them that they're here and on their social media. In our flagship store, we have, filters that people can use to let their followers know when they post that they're here. And it's filters that we pay for, but it helps move traffic and helps people, oh, hey, that looks cool. When I'm in Chicago, I'll stop by, or I can go online and order the candy too and look how that looks. And it's all kind of interconnected. And that was the idea behind, doing the murals and being more colorful, was definitely having it more the virality of it.
Very interesting. Okay, I like that. Your business is also known is also the largest retail and wholesale distributor of Mexican candy in the Midwest, offering a variety of flavors. What are some of the common business practices that has made this business successful? And in particular, what are the various flavors that you offer?
So I think the business practices that have made us successful is really just being very, very, very conscious of your bottom line, right? We're retailers, so we have to make sure that our margins are there. That doesn't mean you have to exploit people or do anything like that. If anything, it also means you have to build a good team. So all of our team members, all of our store managers currently have been with us for more than 6 years. So we have very low turnover because we value our team, and we like to have a cultivated environment of everyone being in this together and making sure people have fun coming to work. We sell candy and piñatas. We don't sell bonds and insurance, so we can't come in upset or grumpy or anything else. We're in a happy place, so we have to make sure our team members are happy too. And I think the flavor profile, I mean, I could tell you we have everything from pineapple, mango, guava, coconut, tamarind, pumpkin, sweet potato. I mean, we have hundreds of flavors. Now that's not even going into chocolates and everything else. And it's really just seeing, what sells, what doesn't, what moves, what we can market, what we can push. Obviously, we have staples in our store. We have the top 20 staples, but we always like to innovate and bring in new items, bring in new things that are in the marketplace, or even creating new things as well. Because we have such high foot traffic in our stores, it's always a good barometer for us to work in conjunction with our vendors and our manufacturers. Say, hey, do you have a new product you want to try? Or people have been asking us for this, or people are looking for this flavoring. Let's try it in the store. Let's give out samples. Let's do an activation. Let's do a table. So that's how we do with the flavors and also the business practices.
Yeah. Now, what is like the number one flavor where you're like, it doesn't surprise me, we're out again. Don't worry, there's 14 more boxes we're gonna go through.
It would probably be our La Rosa Mazapan. So it is a peanut confectionery candy. So think of kind of like the inside of a Reese's, but 100 times better. And it is well known because there's a big rose on the front of it, and it's known across the entire world. And it sells out. I mean, we have at a time in every single store we have over 500 boxes. So it sells. And one weekend we can go through 500 boxes like nothing because people love it, and it's a staple in the Mexican community.
All right, changing a little bit. You are alumni of Loyola University with a degree in political science.
Correct.
Let's give a shout out to us political science majors. Tell us what motivated you to work for the family business instead of working like in your field of study of political science or government.
Well, I think for me, what helped me was I went through some adversity at Loyola. I had some struggles, and I came back and I came into the family business to kind of refocus, right, to find my footing again and see what is exactly I wanted to do. When I came in, before I joined the family business or before I got into it as an adult, I actually did not like business. I did not like the family business because as the children or as a child of an entrepreneur, you never really see your parents. My parents had to sacrifice in order to give us a better life. And as a kid, you don't really think about that. You think about, you don't see your parents, and that's what upsets you. So I had that resentment of business is not good, right? I wanted to become an attorney. I wanted to go to Loyola Law School and practice law. But after I got into the family business, it was just in my blood. Like as soon as I got into that environment, it was something naturally inside of me that I didn't even know was inside of me started kind of just taking over and, doing this, doing that. And it just sparked something in me. And that's when I said, okay, hold on. let me readjust and see. So I dedicated, a summer to coming in and really focusing in. And I realized, okay, what, I think I can do something here. So I decided to work full-time in the family business and then also be going to Loyola. So I was working about 60 hours a week and also a full-time student doing 15 credit hours at the same time. Yeah, and I think unoccupied minds cause bad things, and I think being busy is what helped me focus on. Okay, I don't really have time to do this, so go to work and go to school, go to work and go to school, and it really focused me on both, and it allowed me to excel and to come out on top.
When you look back at your education at Loyola, for some of our viewers that may be looking to go out of school or maybe are in school right now, is there a class you're like, oh shoot, I should have taken that accounting class more seriously, or I should have taken an accounting class, or I should have taken an HR class? Anything you look back and like, could have used a little more another class in this topic?
I think just any really financing classes. I took some basic personal finance and business financing classes, but I wish I would have kind of explored that a little bit further. And I think that would have helped me. We learn as entrepreneurs on the job, so that's what we learned. But yeah, I think definitely anyone can benefit from additional financing classes.
Yeah, and tell us about how you and the family are able to get the capital needed for the various expansions throughout the city. What were some of the financial obstacles you've run into, or kind of lessons for others listening today?
Well, some of the obstacles that we see is obviously access to capital. That's the number one obstacle for a lot of small businesses. After that, it's really vendors. So in our specific field, since we work with international companies, Mexico is a different type of system than we are. Here in the United States, for a lot of businesses, you can start up and get credit with vendors in 30 days and be able to pay your bills. In Mexico, everything is you have to pay beforehand. So that really eats up a lot of capital for small businesses because, a shipment of candy can cost anywhere from $90,000 to $150,000. And all of that has to be paid up front before it can even be loaded and then shipped to you. So that's in our specific field, a little bit of nuance into, what we personally have difficulty with. And then some other challenges financially, like I said, are just access to capital, and then making sure that we have that cash flow going, and make sure that everyone gets paid on time and everything's on top of it. Because the last thing you want to do is not being able to pay your team or your vendors, and those are the two things that are most important.
Yeah, and in this post-pandemic world, we've been hearing, reading, seeing the news a lot, just about distribution. It's about folks such as yourselves in all sorts of industries having to have to wait longer than usual for them to receive their product. I wonder if you in the business have come across that, and if you've learned any kind of lessons that you want to share with others so you can keep the product on the shelf, able for the consumer to continue to purchase it without, we're still waiting.
Yeah, supply chain issues have been my nightmare for the past 18 to 24 months. And yeah, it affected everyone. So what we learned in this pandemic era is, we have to diversify our shipping partners and also diversify our vendors. Before a trailer of piñatas, for example, would cost us anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 in transportation cost to bring it here over the border. That rose up to $12,000 during the pandemic. And for something like that, that's a huge cost. Vendors across the board, even locally in the United States and internationally in Mexico, had difficulty stocking products, having more raw materials. So we had to look for alternatives. We had to find other alternative suppliers. And so it's really just about being agile and, not allowing kind of all these doors to shut on yourself. You always have to look for a solution because there's this demand and you have to fulfill this demand no matter what. So you need to find every single solution you can. And that's what really tested us the most, is just finding, different vendors, different suppliers, different transportation companies, different transportation partners, different types of transportation. We did over the road, We did intermodal train. So, you know, it's just diversifying that. And then even then, right, like we just heard in the news recently that there was almost a strike for the train operators. You know, even that, you might have that come up. And so it's really just being agile as a business and being able to find solutions to what's going to come up, because it's not if a problem comes up, it is what comes up and how many come up every day.
Yeah, very interesting. Changing gears just a little bit. I know you have a presence on social media, and social media is constantly changing, but is it crucial for a small business such as yours in today's world? That's kind of a question. Can you explain your original social media strategy and how it's changed since you became the VP of the business?
Well, our original social media strategy was fairly non-existent. It was irregular posting, it wasn't consistent, it wasn't brand building, and it wasn't looking at any different forms. And what we've done now is we've done basically the opposite. Across all our social media channels of the original three, as we call them, which is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, we're consistent. So all of our material is consistent, all of our material builds brands. We consistently are posting. If it's not about our individual stores, it's about individual products or combos or celebrations of sorts. And then we are also doing different mediums, right? We're doing more film material, we're doing more B-roll, we're doing more in-store things. And now we have to also have an organic side of that. So the organic side goes back to the colorfulness of the store, right? I think a lot of people, especially small business owners, tend to, you know, if someone comes in and starts filming in your store, you're like, no, don't film. We're kind of the opposite. You know, we're like, film, take pictures, tag us. We tell our team members, incentive. People ask you, yeah, go ahead, just make sure you tag us. Incentivize people to want to be able to share your store, because that good publicity is good for you overall. In one of our stores, we actually have an activation, a social media activation that we're testing with our social media team, which is a piñata that's being broken. So the piñata is already basically falling apart. It has candy falling out of it that we've wired up, and we have people pose like they're breaking it, and they can take a picture of it in front of the mural, in front of this activation. They take a picture in front of it, and then they post it on social media. We have a prompt that's on a display next door that says, hey, take a picture in front of our mural, act like you're breaking the piñata, tag Dulcelandia, and enter in for a chance to win a piñata. So it's kind of just incentivizing that and connecting that, and also pushing what social media is to direct sales, be it through in-person sales and foot traffic through those, or also the online store, which e-commerce is a huge part of it, because 90% of e-commerce is Amazon. 90% of e-commerce and 90% of commerce nowadays is e-commerce. So pushing our Facebooks, our Instagrams, our social medias to our e-commerce store, to our Amazon store, and having that kind of interconnected as well. That's kind of what the change has been from when I've gone into now. And we have a great social media team we work with. We have monthly meetings about it, and now we're trying to tackle the challenge of TikTok. That's the next one. Is kind of making our team members do challenges and dances and coming up with different ideas, and even the TikTok idea or TikTok content as we film regular content is something that is in our mind constantly.
Okay, well, when it comes to when you learn a little bit more about TikTok, what we're going to talk again, because I'm at square one. All right, so I know one question I was going to ask as a follow-up to that was, do you know what percentage right now is in store? What percentage is in store versus what percentage is online?
So we're about an 80-20% split, which 80% in store. Okay. And that's a lot to do with the fact that, we sell piñatas. And so our piñatas are big. Our piñatas are at least 36 inches. They're big guys. And unfortunately, to ship those is very expensive. So a lot of our e-commerce comes from out of state or comes from different faraway states because people know us. They've come to Little Village, they come to our stores, and they say, hey, I don't want to drive all the way to Chicago. Let me just order online. But the expense is extremely high because, unfortunately, FedEx and UPS those shipping partners calculate the weight based on the size of the product, not necessarily the actual individual weight of the product. So that's one hurdle that we're looking to find a solution for, which we haven't found yet. So yeah, we're about an 80-20% split, but also a lot of that is because people come in from out of town. So our number one store is our flagship store on 26th Street in Little Village on the corridor. And people come from all over the Midwest. So they come from Michigan, Minnesota, Indiana, Wisconsin, Ohio, Missouri, and they come to the corridor and they visit not only us, but other stores because they want to buy their birthday stuff. They want to buy their quinceañera stuff. They want to buy, they want to come visit the Mexican culture here. So they'll come and drive up and leave with a truck full of stuff. And that's where a lot of our sales for our 26th Street store come from outside of the neighborhood because people come to visit us in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Okay, so you're not. So where do you get the piñatas from? Are they made then in Chicago? You guys make them?
No. So all our piñatas are made from Mexico. So we have them from 3 different states in Mexico. One of them is from Guanajuato, which is a central state in Mexico. We have one from Mexico City, which is obviously southern Mexico. And then we have one from Jalisco, which is a northern western state of Mexico, where Guadalajara is.
All right. So please share with us how people can find you on social media and your store location. Because now you got us all kind of hankering to go out and buy a piñata or certainly have some good candy.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have currently 5 retail locations. We have one on 3253 West 26th Street, which is our main flagship store in Little Village. We have one at 4616 South Kedzie, which is our Brighton Park store. We have one at 3855 West Fullerton, which is our Logan Square store, which is just renovated. We have one at 351 Chicago Ridge Mall, which is inside of the Chicago Ridge Mall, which is our more eclectic store. It's the store that has the most eclectic and diverse customer base. And then we are opening up actually tomorrow. We're opening up a new store in Aurora, Illinois. That's at Aurora, Illinois. That's at 1234 North Lake Street in Aurora. Is opening up tomorrow morning. So it'll be our 5th store that we have.
Well, we hope your customer base stays in the city of Chicago, bringing in local city of Chicago. I'm just kidding. Hey, before we go into some questions with Stella, what do you do when you're not running the business? Like, what do you do to unwind, relax? Like, maybe it's always just eating candy. That's how you like.
I think it's tough. It's tough. It's tough having a work-life balance, especially for being, someone who's just starting. I like to say, but I like to sit with my wife and watch movies, hang out with my dogs. But sometimes my wife has to take my phone away or make me put it on do not disturb after 9 o'clock, because if not, I'll just keep on working.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. It is a 24/7 job, but it has its benefits, obviously.
Well, Marco Rodriguez, this has been so informative. I really appreciate it. I feel like I wish I had some free time this afternoon and go out and get some candy, but unfortunately.
Anytime you want, Commissioner, let me know.
I appreciate that. Stella, how are we doing? Do we have any questions from the chat from those participating with us today?
Yeah, I have a question. We do have a question. Have you seen your customer base change over the years?
Yeah, I think it's been a bit more eclectic. So before it was 90% Hispanic or 99% Hispanic. Now it's the more general market. Now, like I said before, people are buying piñatas and buying candy for their birthdays all the time now. So it's definitely more the general market, and I love to see it. And that's why we have, like I said, not only Hispanic candies, Mexican candies, but also the American candies for everyone, so everyone can celebrate their birthday with us.
Is the Mexican candy becoming more mainstream?
Yes, I definitely think so. I think that a lot of the younger generation now know a lot more about the Mexican candy, and that's a lot to do with social media. So, we had over this past year, there was a huge boom in TikTok was the main attribute of this, that was promoting Mexican candy, and people were doing challenges and whatnot. And that saw a huge wave of people that we usually want to be in the store come in and try it. And obviously, we take the time, no matter who they are, that come into our store, to help our customers, explain to them and guide them to see if they want to try anything.
What local business resources helped you, if any?
For us, we've always been a very strong proponent of the Chamber of Commerce's. We have a very good relationship with the Little Village Chamber of Commerce. We have a very good relationship with various chambers of commerce around the area. And so I think, if small businesses are looking for assistance or guidance, I would say that's the first place you stop by. And also BACP.
Thank you.
Look like we have any more questions. You have any final thoughts before the commissioner ends today's webinar?
Yeah, I think we're blessed in the city of Chicago to have such a robust team at BACP and the city of Chicago and at large to give us so many resources. I think people don't really understand how many resources there are in the city for small businesses, for businesses that are just starting, for people that are just kind of thinking of an idea of businesses. I really think the city of Chicago is a hub for small business. And so when I hear this like sentiment of, oh, everyone's leaving Chicago, it's impossible to leave Chicago. Chicago's doing everything it can to support small businesses. And we'll be here for the foreseeable future, as long as I'm here.
That's great. I was on a call earlier this morning with one of the deputy mayors from London, England, and we're just talking about some stuff, really nightlife type issues. And she was really surprised how Business Affairs, Consumer Protection, and Regulatory Department here in Chicago for the small business community had such a robust, education and outreach component where we, host 300 plus webinars throughout the pandemic. We host the small business expos in person again now a couple times this year. Every Wednesday afternoon, Friday morning, we have a webinar really for entrepreneurs, small business owners who want to expand. And so I know she and I will be conversing again, but she's like, that's something really London needs to do because they're still having, all these big cities all across the world are still having kind of a hard time with the small business economy post-pandemic. But Marco, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Please feel free to pass along on social media, our youtube.com, Chicago BACP. Watch yourself, get your family members to watch you, your favorite store customers. And let's let the viewers and listeners know where to find you one more time on social media.
Sure. You can find us at Dulcelandia across all social medias. Thankfully, we're able to get it. So just put in Dulcelandia, we'll come right up.
Perfect. And for everyone that's listening, watching right now, we look forward to seeing you next month, October already, for another great Empower Hour with one of our Chicago local business owners. So Marco, thank you. Have a great afternoon. Great afternoon to everyone else.
I appreciate it, Commissioner. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, everyone.